All right, hello, geometry kids. I hope you guys all had a good weekend. How exciting that it's actually warming up a little bit instead of being snowy and cold or just cold. Anyway, so yeah, I hope you guys all had a good weekend. All right, so today we're going to be finding sides of a triangle. How exciting, yay, rah, rah. We already did this with 30, 60, 90s and 45, 45, 90s, but what do we do if it's not a 30, 60, 90 and a 45, 45, 90? Those are our special triangles because those are the two triangles that actually have a relationship. The 30, 60, 90 is 1 root 3, 2 always, and the 45, 45, 90 is 1, 1 root 2. All right, so what do we do with this one? It's a 20, 70, 90. What do we do with that? So how do we find this height of this triangle? We're looking for x. So this is the hypotenuse. You can see that right here. And this is the height. And this is the length or the width. All right, so, or the base, I guess you could call it. So when we're looking at this angle 70, well, it's already marked, but I'll just make it bigger. That angle 70, we're going to look at everything compared to that angle 70. So 6 is easy because 6 is always the hypotenuse, HYP. So 6 is always the hypotenuse. But x, the height changes depending on whether looking at angle 70 right here or angle 20 up here. If we're looking at angle 70, then what is this height? What is that x? That height is the opposite because it's opposite of angle 70. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our sine, cosine, tangent ratios. So SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAH, oops, it's a bad A, sorry, TOA, SOHCAHTOA. Sine, opposite hypotenuse, cosine, adjacent hypotenuse, tangent, opposite of adjacent. So if you're struggling with this, go back to the last video, 9.5, day 1. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to set up a ratio. We're going to set up a ratio using sine, cosine, or tangent. So which one do we use? Well, which one has opposite, which is right here, and hypotenuse, which is right here. So that is going to be sine. So I'm going to set up my ratio, and I'm going to say that the sine of 70 degrees is equal to, that's a degree mark, opposite, which is x, divided by hypotenuse, which is 6. That's what the sine of an angle is. The sine of an angle is simply the ratio of two sides of the triangle. Happens to be opposite and hypotenuse for sine. So I'm going to put this over 1. Now I can cross multiply and pretty easily solve for x. So I'm going to get, when I cross multiply, I get 1x is equal to 6 times the sine of 70 degrees. All right, so now I'm going to go over to my calculator here. You're definitely going to need a calculator, again, for this assignment. Because back in the day, they used to use charts, and they'd have to look up the sine of 70 degrees on a chart. We don't need to do that anymore. We have calculators, which is great. All right, so make sure your calculator's in degrees. How do you check that? Go to mode, and you can see right here it says DEGREE, or it's written up here where the pointer says DEGREE degree. So if it's not in there, you'd have to click, like if you want it in radians, you'd have to click, and then you'd have to hit enter. We want it in degrees, so I'm just going to hit enter, and we're good, or clear. Okay, so now I can go ahead, since I'm in degrees, it says up here degrees, I can go 6 times the sine of 70. So 6 times the sine of 70, and I hit enter, and it says round to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to round that to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to get x is equal to 5.6. And that is my answer. And that is all you do. So I'm going to bring this down here. I'm going to make that smaller. Oops, hang on. Sorry. And that way, if you're just looking at the notes, you can see where I got that from, because if you're just looking at the notes, you won't see the calculator. All right, so that is how you get to the first couple problems you're going to get on your assignment tonight. So you're going to see whether or not it's a sine, a cosine, or it's a tangent, and you're going to use your calculator to figure that out. All right, okay, on to the next question. I might actually get under 15 minutes today. What a deal. Okay, so for the next one, it says solve the triangle, solve the right triangle, round your answer to the nearest tenth. All right, when you're looking at solving a triangle, you're finding all the missing sides. So what are we missing? You got to figure that out first. So this is angle, oops, I can't see when I'm pointing to it. There's my pointer. There's angle B. We don't know what angle B is. We can easily find it. This is side B. So the angles are uppercase letters and the sides are lowercase letters, always in any math book you're going to look at. So this is actually little c. So this over here is going to be capital C. Now we don't need to find capital C because it's marked 90 degrees, so we don't need to find that. All right. And so that leaves, I'm guessing, you don't even have to name this because we already know that that's 47 degrees, but this would be capital A, and this here would be little a. All right, so what do we have to find? We have to find angle B, we have to find side C, and side B. I'm going to start with the easiest one. I'm going to start with angle B. So angle B, this is 180 degrees. In a triangle always, this is 90 degrees. So angle B is going to be 90 minus 47 degrees. 90 degrees minus 47 degrees. So angle B is going to be 43 degrees. All right, that wasn't so bad. Okay, now we got to find side C and side B. So I'll just go in order and do side B. Okay, so how do we find side B? Okay, we're done with angle B, so how do we find side B? All right, so here, I'm just going to keep this as my primary angle, this angle right here. So I'm going to look at angle A as the angle that I always like find everything with. So here's angle A. So what exactly is A over here? This 21 that I know, this is my known is 21. So that is my opposite, because it's opposite of angle A. C is the hypotenuse, which I'm not even going to do right now because I'm trying to find side B. B would be the adjacent. So once again, I'm going to write this up here. You might want to put this in your, make sure this is written down for when you're doing your homework. Okay, SOHCAHTOA. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write my equation. So I'm going to say, okay, opposite and adjacent. This is adjacent. This is opposite. So if I'm looking at opposite over adjacent, that is tangent. So I'm going to say that the tangent of 47 degrees is equal to opposite. What is opposite? Well, my opposite is 21 divided by my adjacent is B, because that's what I'm trying to find. So then I have everything I need to figure out what B is. So I'm going to put this over 1 and I'm going to cross multiply. So 21 is equal to B times the tangent of 47 degrees. So I'm trying to figure out what B is. I'm going to divide both sides by the tangent of 47 degrees, divide by the tangent of 47 degrees. Should have done that in a different color. Whoops. Well, oh well. Okay. So divide that, well, okay. The tangent of 47, divide that by the, oh my goodness. Okay, maybe we should have, maybe this is going to take me the whole 15 minutes. Sorry, folks. Okay, so divide that by the tangent of 47 degrees. All right, so what is B? B is going to end up being, because that's going to cancel, 21 divided by the tangent of 47 degrees. So then you go over here in your calculator. I'm going to clear this out what we did before. I'm going to take 21 divided by the tangent of 47 degrees, and I'm going to hit enter. And so B, that length B, that side, is going to be equal to 19.6, because once again, I'm rounding to the nearest tenth. So there's my B, 19.6. All right. So then lastly, I need to find C. Okay, so I just need to move up a little bit. So how am I going to figure out what C is? So C compared to A, here's my angle A. Angle A is 47. I'm not going to use B because I rounded B. So I'm not going to use adjacent divided by hypotenuse. So I am absolutely not going to use cosine. Why am I not going to use cosine? Because B is the adjacent and I rounded that. So if I use that, I'm going to get the wrong answer. I'd have to use this whole 19.58. So to figure out what side C is, the hypotenuse, I am going to use the opposite, which is 21, and hypotenuse, which is C. So I'm going to use sine. So when I am finding side C, I am going to use sine. So I'm going to say that the sine of 47 degrees, and this is separate from that, is going to be equal to opposite, which is 21, divided by hypotenuse, which is C. So then I'm going to put this over 1, and I'm going to cross multiply. So C times the sine of 47 degrees is equal to 21. So then I'm going to divide both sides. We'll do it in a different color to begin with. I'm going to divide it by the sine of 47 degrees and divide it by the sine of 47 degrees. Sorry, you can't read that really well. So now in my calculator, I'm going to take 21 divided by the sine of 47 degrees. I'm going to hit enter and I get C, that's not writing. C is equal to 28.7. That's it. So now I'm going to look up above and make sure that makes sense. Okay, so if C, this is a C. Okay, so if C is 28.7, approximately 28.7, these two sides are not the hypotenuse, they have to be smaller than that. So that's a 19.6 and a 21, so that'll work. All right, I'm going to get under 15 minutes here. Okay, last problem. All right, so here is the problem. A ladder leans against the side of a house. The angle of elevation to the ladder is 69 degrees. So here's my 69 degrees right here. When the bottom is 14, oops, I think I'm missing part of the problem. Oh yeah, okay. I'll make this a little bit smaller. Hang on. Oh. All right, so, well, you can just see from the picture, but I'll shorten this up so you can see it. Sorry. Come on. Okay. When the bottom of the ladder is 14 feet from the side of the house, find the length of the ladder. All right, so we know that this is 69 degrees. We know that this is 14, and that we're trying to find the length of this ladder. So what is this comparison to 69 degrees? Well, this is the adjacent, because it's right next to the 69 degrees, and this is the hypotenuse. So what trig function am I going to think of? SOHCAHTOA, that's going to be cosine. So I'm going to say that the cosine of 69 degrees is equal to adjacent, which is 14, divided by, I'm just going to use L for ladder. You could have used C for the hypotenuse or H or whatever. All right, that's my formula. The cosine of 69 degrees is equal to the adjacent 14 divided by question mark. So now I'm going to put this over 1 and cross multiply. So I'm going to get L times the cosine of 69 degrees is equal to 14. All right, so how do I figure what L is? If it's multiplied, you divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by the cosine of 69 degrees divided by the cosine of 69 degrees. So that this over this is going to cancel. So I get L is equal to, and then in my calculator, I'm going to go 14 divided by the cosine of 69 degrees. Hit enter, and I get 39.1. And there is units, so this is going to be feet. I don't know if there's actually a 39.1 foot ladder, but if there is, that's what it would be. And I got under 15 minutes. It's a miracle. All right, well, have a fabulous day. Your homework shouldn't be terrible. You can find me on Google Meets Live if you have any questions, and have a great day and get outside this week. It's going to be beautiful. Okay, bye everyone. Miss you.